Right, let's kick off another deep dive. This time, we're taking a look at Google.
Oh, Google.
We've got a ton of articles, research, even notes, all about this, well, this tech giant.
Uh-huh.
So we got to get started, right? We're on this mission to find, like, the most fascinating, the most important, nuggets about Google. Like, did you know it was almost called back rub?
No way. Back rub.
Yeah, back rub. Or that they use, get this, goats as lawnmowers.
Goats.
Yeah, goats. For real.
Seriously.
Totally. We're going to uncover it all, like from Wikipedia to historical accounts to, like, the latest news.
I mean, it's crazy how much Google's a part of our lives.
Right.
Like searching for that coffee shop or using Google Maps to get somewhere.
Totally.
But, it's easy to forget they started as just a research project, not even a business. Like back in '96 at Stanford.
96, Stanford, wow. So, okay, picture this. 2 PhD students, Larry Page and Sergey Brin,
Right, Brin.
working on this project that, like, boom, changes the world.
Literally changed everything.
I can't even imagine, like, what their dorm room brainstorming was like.
Wild, right.
Totally wild.
But what's interesting is they weren't totally alone. There was this guy, Scott Hassan.
Oh, yeah, I think I've heard that name.
People call him the third founder.
The third founder.
Interesting.
He wrote, like, a huge chunk of the original code, but he left before Google, actually became a company. It's crazy how some contributions get overlooked.
Like the wizard behind the curtain, right?
Exactly. It's mind-blowing how they got started, though. Snagged a $100,000 investment while it was still just a research project. Can you imagine?
Wait, $100,000 based on, like, what, a website demo back then?
Basically, this guy, Andy Bechtelsheim, co-founder of Sun Microsystems,
Oh, wow, some microsystems, yeah.
he saw the potential in their algorithm, their search, and just went for it.
That's, like, gutsy.
Total gutsy move.
Yeah.
The story goes, he wrote the check on the porch of David Jerrican's house, who, by the way, later invested $250,000 himself.
On a porch. That's like a Silicon Valley legend or something. It totally is.
A check on a porch. Wow. Talk about, like, casual beginnings, huh? For a company that's, like, a global powerhouse now.
Yeah, you think about it, they were working out of a garage, fueled by pizza, late nights.
The classic startup story.
Oh, and their first server,
Yeah.
built with, like, the cheapest parts, and get this, housed in Lego bricks.
With Lego bricks. No way.
Lego bricks. Seriously.
I mean, who'd have thought Legos could handle, like, that much data?
It shows how resourceful they were. They had this drive to make something big, even without, all the fancy resources.
It's a far cry from, the Googleplex they have now.
Oh, the Googleplex.
With all the perks, the free food, the massages, even a
It's
slide.
like the dream tech job.
Right. But getting from, like, garage to Googleplex, there were some big moves.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, remember when they became the default search engine for Yahoo?
2000, right?
Yeah, 2000. That was a game changer. Suddenly, millions of users.
Put them on the map, basically.
And then, bam, they go public in 2004. Page, Brin, and, well, Eric Schmidt, who was CEO then, all become super wealthy.
The classic Silicon Valley success story, dorm room to, like, multi-billion-dollar IPO.
But it doesn't stop there.
Oh, not even close. That's just the beginning.
I remember reading about that IPO. It wasn't just about the money. It was about, like, fueling their ambition,
Yeah.
to do more.
And they did. I mean, look at the ecosystem they built. Products, services, way beyond just search.
It's like everywhere you look.
Think about it. Android, YouTube, Google Maps, Gmail.
It's like everything.
All those platforms touching almost every part of our, digital lives.
It's crazy.
Really is. And it's incredible how they've, like, expanded into so many areas, even stuff you might not know about. Like, they have Google Cardboard, that simple VR viewer.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And Google Keep for note-taking.
I use that.
See, they're everywhere. And they're involved in, like, everything. Quantum computing, self-driving cars. It's like, is there anything they don't do? Seriously. It's like they want to, like, organize the world's information, but also, like, revolutionize everything while they're at it.
That's a good way to put it.
But, with all that, they've also had some, well, legal battles, especially in Europe, over antitrust stuff.
Yeah, those haven't been easy.
Like, in 2024 alone, they lost 2 huge cases, right? Billions of euros in fines.
Yeah, the EU's been, really challenging their dominance. One case even confirmed they had an illegal monopoly over, internet search.
Really?
Yeah, and the other one focused on their shopping search stuff.
Yeah.
The EU said it was discriminatory.
Wow. So yeah, it's not all like sunshine and rainbows at the top, huh?
Definitely not. It's a complex world out there.
Makes you wonder, like, does all that success come with, a price?
Maybe.
But they're not just fighting legal battles, they're pushing into all sorts of new things.
Oh, it's pushing, yeah.
Like recently, video games with Stadia.
Stadia, right?
And then there's that AI hub they launched in Saudi Arabia. And they joined that Open Wallet Foundation, too, to make those, digital wallets work together.
It's like they never stop.
Constantly evolving.
And remember that whole lawsuit they settled? Where they had to destroy, like, billions of data records
Yeah.
because they were tracking users, even in incognito mode.
Oh, yeah. That was big.
That brought up, like, all sorts of questions about, privacy and how they collect data.
Huge concerns. It reminds us that even though they offer all these amazing services, they also hold, like, a ton of power and data. And that needs, careful scrutiny.
No kidding. It's a lot to process. Feels like we've only just, like, scratched the surface of Google's story.
Oh, yeah, we're just getting started. Yeah, it really makes you think, about that balance between all the convenience Google gives us and what it might cost, like our privacy.
Yeah.
Something we got to keep talking about. But you know what else is massive? Their infrastructure. All that behind-the-scenes stuff that powers everything they do.
Oh, right. Like their data centers. I always picture those, like giant futuristic buildings filled with like blinking lights and servers humming.
Yeah.
Are they as impressive in real life as, in the movies?
You're actually, like, even more mind-blowing. We're talking massive complexes. Millions, maybe even tens of millions of servers running 24/7
Yeah.
to store all that data and, process it all.
Wow. Tens of millions.
It's crazy. Google doesn't say exactly how many centers they have, but it's got to be over 24, spread out all over the world so people can access their services, quickly and reliably.
That's a global network for sure. But all those centers, they must use a ton of energy to keep everything running. Like I read somewhere that some of them use as much power as a small country.
Yeah, that's true. And that's a big reason why Google's been putting so much into renewable energy. Back in 2017, they actually hit their goal. 100% renewable energy to power their operations.
Really? Wow, 100%. That's impressive.
And they're not done. Now they want to be carbon-free 2047 by 2030.
That's pretty ambitious.
Yeah.
But if they're using that much energy, how can they say they're environmentally friendly? Can a company that big really be sustainable?
It's a good question. And it's complicated. They are doing a lot to be more sustainable, that's true. But at the same time, their energy use keeps going up because their services are growing and people need more data storage all the time.
Right. So it's kind of a trade-off. We want Google services, but it comes at a cost.
Yeah.
Environmentally.
It shows the challenge we all face. The more we rely on tech, the more we need to make it sustainable. It's got to be a priority.
Yeah, for sure.
Oof.
It's like we can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
Speaking of connections, though, what about those underwater cables? I keep hearing about those. Are they part of Google's infrastructure, too?
Absolutely. Those cables are like the hidden backbone of the internet. They're these huge networks of fiber optic cables just laid across the ocean floor.
Across the ocean.
Yeah. Crazy, right? Sending tons of data super fast. And Google's investing heavily in them. They want to control more of this, this vital infrastructure.
So they're not just like controlling the digital world. They're actually shaping like the physical stuff that connects us all.
Exactly. It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
It really is. But why are those cables so important to them?
Control. Security. It's a strategic thing. Owning those cables lets them like direct the flow of data. They're less reliant on other companies.
Yeah.
Plus, it gives them an advantage in places where, internet access is growing really fast. They're setting themselves up for the future globally.
It's like a giant chess game, right? Positioning themselves to be, the leader in the digital age. Speaking of being a leader, let's get into some of those specific products and services that have made Google, we all know search, Gmail, YouTube, but they have way more, right? Some of it pretty unexpected.
It's amazing how they've branched out. Where should we start? How about Android?
Oh yeah, Android.
The biggest mobile operating system out there. Billions of phones and tablets use it. Google got Android back in 2005. And, that was a smart move. Put them right in the middle of the mobile revolution.
It's hard to imagine, a world without Android now. It's just everywhere.
Totally. And then there's YouTube, the king of video content.
Everything's on YouTube. Music videos, tutorials, even, those funny cat videos.
They bought YouTube in 2006 for like $1.65 billion. Seems like a steal now. Think about how much influence it has, how many people watch it.
It's crazy how they've, like, shaped how we see and share information,
Completely change things.
and they keep doing it. But I'm curious about some of the, like, less obvious stuff, like Google Cardboard. Remember that little cardboard VR viewer?
Oh, yeah.
That was so smart. Anyone with a smartphone could try VR.
Exactly. Google's really good at making tech available to everyone, more affordable, more widespread. They didn't stop there, though. Later, they came out with Daydream View, a fancier VR headset. And they've been working on AR, augmented reality, with AirCore. So developers can make those AR experiences for Android devices.
AR, that's a game changer for sure. Can't wait to see what they do with it. But we can't forget about AI and machine learning. That's where Google's really, like, pushing the limits.
Their AI research is top-notch. They've developed these powerful language models, LaMDA, PaulM. They can write text that sounds human, translate languages, even write different kinds of creative stuff. And code.
Seriously,
Yeah.
they can code.
It's both amazing and a little, unsettling. The things AI can do now.
I know, right? Like, could AI write, like, a hit song or a movie script? What happens to human creativity then?
It's a question a lot of people are asking, and the impact of AI goes way beyond like just creative stuff. Google's using it in healthcare,
Yeah.
tools to help doctors diagnose diseases earlier, more accurately. The potential is huge, but there are, ethical questions too.
Right, like every time tech advances, we got to figure out the ethics of it all. It's a constant thing. But speaking of advancing, what about Google's own hardware? They have their Pixel phones, but they've also gotten into smart speakers and all that wearable tech.
Their Nest stuff, the Google Home, Nest Mini, those smart speakers, they're a big competitor to Amazon's Echo devices.
Yeah, I've seen those around.
And remember, they bought Fitbit. That puts them right in the middle of wearable tech, tracking our health, our fitness.
Just you think about all the data they're collecting,
Yeah.
right? From our homes, even our bodies. And we already talked about the privacy concerns with that.
Yeah.
But it's not just privacy. It's also, like, about misinformation, manipulation,
Yeah.
all that.
You're right. Those are big issues. Google's been criticized for not doing enough to stop fake news, harmful stuff, all that on their platforms. They've got to make sure their tech isn't being used to trick people or spread lies. It's a big responsibility.
No kidding. The stakes are high. It's like a reminder. Tech can do a lot of good, but there's always a flip side. We have to be aware of it. We got to address it.
I know. It's kind of like we're living in a sci-fi movie sometimes with all this talk about, AI and data centers and cables under the ocean. It's wild. But it also makes you think, like, where is this all going? What does it mean for, for us, for society, for the future?
That's the big question,
Yeah.
right? The one we all need to be asking. Because the choices we make now about technology, about these companies, it's going to affect things for a long time. But let's focus a bit on Google's culture. We talked about that "Don't be evil" motto. Is that
It's a real contradiction. Google's culture, it's been praised, but also criticized a lot. On the one hand, they've made this amazing work environment. People say it's intellectually stimulating. Everyone collaborates. And there are tons of perks. Free gourmet meals, gyms, even laundry service. Sounds pretty dreamy, right, Tim?
sign me yes? But I've also heard, like, there's a not so good side to it, that it's kind of a bro culture that can make people feel left out, especially women and minorities.
Yeah, there's definitely tension there. Over the years, they've had lawsuits, protests, all sorts of stuff about gender discrimination, harassment, unequal pay. It shows how hard it is to make a truly inclusive, fair workplace, even for a company that, wants to be seen as progressive.
It's like we can't just assume a company's ethical just because of their image, right? We got to look closer, see how their employees are treated, hold them accountable. And it's not just gender either.
Yeah.
There's been talk about ageism too, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Tech has this reputation for, favoring young people. And Google's no different. There have been stories about older employees being pushed out or passed over for promotions. It's a real concern. Google needs to deal with it better.
Okay, so we've talked about the less positive parts of their culture.
Mm.
What about the stuff they're known for? Like that 20% time policy. That always seems so cool, so different.
Yeah, the 20% time was legendary. Employees got to spend like a fifth of their time on whatever they wanted. Side projects, their own ideas, things they were passionate about.
Right.
And it worked. Some of Google's biggest hits, like Gmail and Google Maps, came from that policy.
So basically giving people freedom, flexibility, it leads to like real innovation. Why don't more companies do that?
Well, as Google got bigger, more focused on making money, the 20% time kind of faded away. Some people see it as like a sign that they've lost that early, that startup spirit. Others say it's just like a natural thing for a big company.
It's kind of sad in a way. Like they grew up and lost a bit of their, their spark. But hey, maybe those innovative ideas are still out there, right? Maybe we'll keep
Yeah.
seeing the results of that 20% time for years. So, okay, we've covered a lot. Their beginnings, their culture, their products, the controversies, their impact on the world. What's the big takeaway from all this?
I think the biggest thing is Google's complicated. Like anything powerful, it's a mix of things. Amazing innovation, huge ambition, but also like unchecked power, ethical issues, that constant struggle between making money and doing what's right for society.
Yeah, and it's not just Google, right? It's the whole tech industry. And maybe, maybe it's us too.
Exactly. It's like holding up a mirror. We see the good and the bad, the potential and the risks, and we have to figure out like how we want to be a part of it, how we shape its future.
It's exciting and a little scary too. But one thing's for sure, Google's a force to be reckoned with. We'll all be watching to see what they do next. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Google. It's been a fascinating and sometimes confusing journey.